CuntCast podcast is rated not safe for work. Urban Dictionary describes it as internet content generally inappropriate for the typical workplace, i.e., would not be acceptable in the presence of your boss and colleagues. All of these definitions apply. As a result, we will provide you with 15 seconds of pleasant, non-offensive music for you to advance to the next program, acquire headphones, or lock all available doors and windows for a proper sensual CuntCast experience. Please, be safe out there and enjoy the program.
Good evening, fellow sexual subjects. You are listening to a broadcast of the CuntCast podcast, a conversation with a classily characterized cunt, carefully crafted with cognizant courage to champion conscientious consummation. And I'm your host, Jayla Ree, and I am joined by Lawnmower Man, but also Mr. Anran Freeman. Hey.
Howdy. It's good to be back. Good to be talking. Get back on the show. Get back into the rhythm of things. It's funny because, in general, the pandemic just creates these strange gaps in between productivity. And it also applies for podcasting as well. So, glad to be back and let's do it.
Yeah, I don't get how everybody's like, well, this is like that time to write that novel. Like,
no, it's not.
Bitch, if you couldn't write a novel when you were not fearing for your life, why would you think like the beginning of a dystopian novel was going to be your time to shine?
That's my thing, is I don't understand. I think it's a little rude to just tell people what they should be doing. Just real talk. Like, that's the thing. It's like this is a time to be kind to yourself. Full stop. That's it. It's time for you to be kind to yourself. So
I have one exception to that. We should be able to tell people that are like silver lining to go fuck themselves.
You're talking about those people that were happy that they've gotten kind of a built-in vacation because 60,000 people died?
Yeah.
Those people are deeply problematic.
It's a blessing in disguise because I just couldn't even, and now I have like time to just take a mimosa and think. I mean, I'm sorry, like, your Nana's dead, but, you know, I just needed a break. I just needed me time. Like, so God just gave me that through millions of people getting a horrible disease. I mean, so what? Like, kids have all these weird scabby things on their feet. COVID toes, they call it. But I got to, like, do a mini spa day at home. And I just really needed that.
Right.
I just needed that breather, man. And
right.
God, in God's infinite wisdom, was like, I'm going to kill hundreds of thousands of people so that I can take a break. And I just feel so blessed. Hashtag blessed.
And the thing about it is, I understand it's a desperate search for a silver lining in a terrible situation. There is.
I just feel like some things can just be bad and that's okay.
Yeah, you're making the best out of a bad situation. You work less. You have more time for yourself. You can rebalance, but this ain't it. Like, this situation did not happen so that you can rebalance. It's just a byproduct of everything grinding to a halt. And yeah, you're just making the best out of a terrible situation. But in no way does that make the situation better. Situation is just still shitty.
Yes.
You're just taking longer baths, and kudos to you. You're learning a craft. Good for you. You're writing a book. Great for you. But
I mean, it's like 9/11 every other day, but you know.
It's just every day is just a little seasoned with 9/11. Yes, a few 100 people die here, a few thousand people die here. And every once in a while we have these big days where 1,000 people die or 2,000 people die, and then we come back down. We're down.
Yeah.
And then we come
But,
back.
like, Katie needs her haircut. So my freedoms are being encroached.
Right. Well, I don't even...
I think literally, I'm not going stir crazy because I was kind of a shut-in before all this, ironically. But I've been inside my parents' house since February.
Yeah.
If I'm not cracking up, I don't think, shut up.
Yeah, we have to, we are all now in our homes, and everyone's home, and the energy in it is different. So people are trying to make it work. If you can make it work, in no way was a situation for you to make it work. You just did. Kudos to you.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
I always wondered what it was like living through the first chapters of an apocalypse novel. And now, that's off the bucket list.
Right. We did it. I mean, we're not done yet because, like I said, we've got people acting a fool. So we've now have
this is the first chapter. Like, this is the prologue where they're like telling you how it all went wrong.
Right. We have not seen the beginning of the gun owners at peak anxiety because
Aren't they already like driving their trucks into like parades for doctors and stuff already?
Yes. There's a fellow in Oregon who was driving his truck around a parade for first responders, doctors, nurses, so on, EMTs. And he was threatening to shoot the people. He was waving a gun and threatening to shoot people. And then he lost control of his Jeep and flipped it on its side. Yeah.
I wonder if the first responders then had to be the first to respond to his flipped over car.
I imagine every first responder became the 6th and 7th responder when they realized the guy who was trying to fuck up the parade, which, by the way, is fine. I guess, like I said, it's good for morale, but it's too little too late. It's too little for what they need. And there's a guy brandishing a handgun trying to get it to stop. I imagine that they were all probably 13th responders. Like, they all went to lunch, and then they all came back out. And then they were like, well...
Literally, I would love if it was just like a parade of first responders. He flips his car like a dumbass, and everybody just collectively was like, it'd be like that sometimes. And like, the parade just keeps on going.
I just walk around him and coach him. Every first responder would give him a thumbs up and hope that he can pull himself out of the wreckage of his own vehicle. Somebody would just come and...
Well, I'm not going to encroach on your freedom.
Right.
Free yourself from your burning car.
Right. We're just going to take this gun so that you don't have both hands to escape the wreckage. And then that's all you. Because, again, this is your freedom. It's your body, your rules. You took your body, your choice, your freedom to flip your car, your choice, your freedom on its side here in a public place. So it's also naturally your American right as a free tax-paying citizen to pull yourself out of this wreckage and drag yourself to a hospital where, when we're done, we will tend to you last, no matter what the letters in your name are. So we're just gonna put a Z in front of the last name every time, no matter whether your name is Anderson, Aardvark, Andrews, Z Andrews, Z Aardvark. Doesn't matter. But that's us. We do have things.
We do have things. I mean, it's a little weird trying to do ostensibly a sex podcast in the least sexiest time in recent memory.
It's the least sexiest and the most sexiest time. We are having these incredible bursts of sexuality person to person. More people are talking openly about sex than I've ever heard. More people are openly acknowledging that they watch porn. More people are openly acknowledging that they would like to get laid, that they use sex toys, that they masturbate, what they're doing sexually during the day. We cannot touch each other, so now all the masks have come off, and it is rather amusing.
Or they ironically should stay on.
Right. So it's the least sexual and the most sexual time I've been alive.
Yes, people are getting like I said, people are like chaotically horny. but now I feel like they've transitioned into desperately horny.
Right.
Like literally 5 people have subscribed to my OnlyFans. I don't remember what my password is, and I think there's just a picture of my cat, like not the tantalizing one, like fat furry white cat given like a derpy doof face. And like people keep on like subscribing. And I'm not somebody who like plugs my OnlyFans, so I don't know how they found it.
No,
But people are like, the potential for ass, yes.
well, that is I have found a few OnlyFans by just Googling the odd name. You'd be surprised how many people have OnlyFans that just don't advertise it and just take whoever they pick up organically. So I think now we're at as part of the cultural movement is that if you see someone,
I'm like kudos for OnlyFans getting a shout out from Beyonce, which
right.
you know everybody would be happy if Beyonce knows you exist. But I feel like that's not the greatest platform. Because literally the reason why I never put anything on my OnlyFans because I was like, I don't really like how this is set up. I don't like how the money's getting handled, and you know, you have to make do. But it's not my favorite.
Okay. Yeah. I've had people ask me if I have an OnlyFans. People have looked and noticed that I didn't, and I was like, they looked before they even asked, and I was just like making sure that I had my name right and everything. I was like, I don't have an OnlyFans. They were like, you sure? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with its popularity, it's either going to be like MySpace 2.0, which it cannot handle, or it's just going to be the place everybody goes, and either you're going to have people stealing a whole bunch of content and trying to upload it to an OnlyFans account that they have that's just stolen content, or it's just going to implode.
I'm going to assume that most tech organizations are closer to Zoom than Google, and they are not prepared for the sudden 400% jump in patronage. Most things aren't. It even took Xbox about 2-3 weeks to get their shit together with the extra chunk of people using Xbox Live of all things. So I imagine OnlyFans is enjoying the influx of cash, but having to process an extra 200%.
Well, the thing is, I feel like it's a lot of money being spread very thin.
Right.
Because I see people who are like, oh, I'm in like the top 25%. And then like they post how much they make. And I'm like, I know I'm a withered whore in this game. Like I've been through the storm. I've been here a while.
Right.
So when I see somebody like I'm in the top 10, like I expect like weekly to be a lot more than like $100 something or like. So like how many people are actually making a living off OnlyFans? Like I feel like it's a very elite few, even fewer than like cam models, like other cam models.
Right.
I mean, it's less time consuming, possibly.
Right.
Because you have people that have these very wonderfully edited video clips and really great photography. That's time consuming. But you know, people that are just like, here's my my balls, and it's like on their iPhone 8. It's less time consuming, but I feel at least on streaming, even if you sunk in your 8 hours, like it's a quasi decent wage. Or it was, Well, I haven't really been back yet, so I'll see how bad it is.
Yeah, it might be something. It might be something to look into, like how much money, because I don't know any of this. Like I said, these are all just like cultural movements.
Yeah. But I'm just getting it from people who I've seen, like they're saying like I'm in this top percentile, and I'm looking at what they say that they're making because they're posting like their earnings, and I'm like, oh, I mean that's nice. Yeah. Not what I expected from the top 20, like 5%. And one person was like the top 5%. I was like, that is not like if you're the top 5%, how much is the bottom 5, like the bottom 95% making
Um,
on average.
well, I wonder. How many people are on OnlyFans and kind of trying to keep it on the low, so whatever they make is fine.
Well, I think most people are doing
Right.
that because,
So it's like if you
unfortunately,
if you're making $200 or $300 a month, that's not so bad. If you're also a librarian who is trying not to let everybody know that you have an OnlyFans, I mean, I guess as supplementary income.
Yeah,
So,
like
I mean, that's my own. That's
but for
my
me,
guess.
when I think of like people that are in the top, like those are the full-time people. Like for me, I'm a strain on society. I'm just in my mom's house. I can get by with not that much, but I think somebody who has like a mortgage and 2 kids, $2,500 is not enough monthly income.
Hey, listen, that's good supplementary income, depending
Yeah,
upon how
I
little,
appreciate it.
or how much you are using OnlyFans. So if you are in fact posting the odd 5-minute clip of you having sex that you would normally be having, or if you are walking back and forth in a pair of heels, like even I do that. I what do I buy? Where is it? I think it's Diamond Legs. I'm a leg guy. I'll buy those videos for $5, but they're only about 5 minutes long. I imagine they only took one single take. You know what I mean? So it's like, however much or how little they are being bought, it doesn't seem to cost the performer too much time. So it's all just positive. You just go into a hotel room, Airbnb,
Luckily, there's a lot of people, like, I've seen a lot of people who were retired from adult industry and were going in, like, the public. And then, since everybody's getting laid off, they're just taking their archives and moving it to OnlyFans.
Oh.
So, like, for them, they're like, oh, this is just all profit because everything's already been produced. It was never in one place. So for those performers, like, this is going well for them. But I think for people that are like, I just lost my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
I have an iPhone, and desperation, I think for those people, it might not be super worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody try something. But so there's a big story that happened a week ago, I want to say,
What was it?
that kind of made me feel like the dark side of OnlyFans being so in the public lexicon was this mechanic, and she worked at what do you call it, body shop or whatever.
All right.
And her coworkers found her OnlyFans and were harassing her about it and watching it during work hours. And then she got fired for it.
That's on her boss. What a terrible fucking boss.
He is terrible, but like so many people are in like right to work states where they could basically fire you for whatever reason.
Right.
And if they see her having OnlyFans as disruptive to everybody else, then she's the cause and they can fire her, which is disgusting. And
right.
one of the many, many reasons why capitalism is evil. But unfortunately, it is what it is. What really sucks is we're just now starting the conversation where lawyer associations and things like that are actually looking at sex workers' rights, not just as human rights, but actually as workers' rights. And they're saying, well, this is discrimination. One of the co-founders of New Jersey Red Umbrella Alliance actually just had a article published from the National Guild of Lawyers on the type of discrimination that happens to sex workers. I was quoted because I was saying, I was a cubicle bitch for a while, but it was a lot harder being a cubicle bitch because I would go through like 6, 7 rounds of interviews and they're like, yeah, okay, we're just going to run a background check on you. And certain background checks, what they are really looking for is like who you were paid from and who you reported being paid from. So I know I was getting direct deposit from StreamMate. So that company is going to come up. But I didn't put it on my resume, obviously, because it doesn't have anything to do with marketing for an engineering architectural firm.
No.
But they're going to be like, oh, okay, this is. So it makes it either A, look like you're trying to be deceitful, or B, they're going to look up that company and see what the company does and go, oh, I don't think you were processing payments for this company. You were a model. And again, you don't get the job. So I kind of feel like post COVID-19, there's going to be that conversation that we're going to have for all the people that did have OnlyFans, where, OnlyFans, the whole model is you could find content you like, and then you download it, and it's on your phone.
Right.
So for me, that always makes me a little nervous because I'm like, okay, it's going to go from that person's device to where? It's so far reaching. And I mean, even what I was doing, people were pirating streams, but it's way harder to match it to you without like crazy surveillance technology. So yes, on one hand, Beyonce might be watching your OnlyFans, which is either breathtaking or terrifying. But on the other hand, your future employers will probably find out you also have OnlyFans. And because we live in like the worst timeline, that means you'll get fired instead of all your coworkers that are sexually harassing you.
We will see. I do wonder how we defend, after the election and we possibly get another president, God willing, we begin to approach how we see people, because one thing is now commonly understood is that our middle class is shot and every American needs 2 jobs up to making $60,000, $70,000 a year, which is a lie that was perpetrated, that we didn't need that. American middle class people were just working 1 job and it was fine and it was great and everyone was affording everything. It's all a lie. We're all check to check. And as a result, gig workers, which is a huge chunk of America, there needs to be a closer look at defending their rights, because they're such a huge chunk of America, including the wealthy middle class, air quote middle class white ones that were lying to everyone. So because, and I hate to say it, because this is a problem that affects white people in America, there's a possibility, again, if we get a new president, that we will look at how we treat our workers, because we're all check to check. Because we're definitely not going to pay our workers more, because America is about that hard capitalism. But we might treat our peasants better. And sure, whatever.
I don't really see the new feudal lords seeing more value in less peasants.
We shall see. The problem is it's who the peasants are.
And I think with sex workers, it's so easy to say, oh, well, they chose to do this. It's alternative lifestyle. Like we're a very conservative country.
No, we're powerfully conservative. But we open the doors for folks when the right people are in trouble. And I would say right now, economically, the right people are in trouble. Because right now, a lot of white folks are now living the lives of black and brown folks since forever generations. They've now lived it for 3 months. And given how America tends to white folks, like again, if we get a new president, we'll probably have something that tends to, disproportionately them, but at least the idea of workers being poor on the average will be something commonly understood, as opposed to black and brown workers being poor and incompetent. And then, of course, I'm
concerned because I think there's still a disconnect between sex workers and workers.
Yes. There's a
Because I mean,
possibility.
I even talked to like Black and brown labor organizers, and when to see their faces when I start talking about sex workers' rights as workers' rights, they like visually recoil from me.
Well,
Or they start saying things like, well, I think it's so nice that you're concerned with those people, but I think we should think like realistically. They made their choice. And I was like, you mean we made our choice, right? Then it's a very short conversation after that. But yeah. And I also kind of feel like the conservatism, it even reaches the adult industry. There's hella conservative, sex workers out there who, for whatever reason, feel like they're the victims.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Have you ever heard of Brandy Love?
Vaguely. Oh, what do you ask?
So since like 2017, she's been on this tear that like adult performers who are Trump supporters are being victimized by the adult industry if they come out as Republicans. And she even uses the phrase come out. I'm like, you don't come out as Republican, but whatever. And I just kind of feel like, how could you even make that assumption when this is the industry where blacked.com dominates. Like, it's not a progressive bunch when you have the guys from Dog Fart saying, we are still shooting scenes where a white woman's calling a black man the N-word and it's supposed to just be something that performer is okay with. Like, I don't really feel like this industry, or at least the adult film industry, is a place where, ultra leftists are embraced wholeheartedly. We can't even call black women. The ebony category still exists.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I kind of feel like the way the libertarians kind of were like, woohoo, we want to legalize weed. Now they're kind of on the woohoo, we love porn tear, but it's like, we love porn as long as you guys don't want any help and you don't have workers' rights, because we don't really believe in those, but we love porn. Like, it always made me very uncomfortable having to deal with those like Trump supporting and like pre-Trump, like super conservative cam models and stuff. Because they would say like hella racist shit. But they'd be like, well, I don't know why you're talking to me like that. Like, obviously I'm a sex worker. I have an alternative lifestyle. So you can't really call me racist or judge me because I'm like, it's almost like I'm queer. I'm a sex worker. And I'm just like,
what?
Fucking fucked. Yes.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard all kinds of dumb shit from like conservative sex workers. They exist. Some of them are even in the sex workers' rights movement, which is uncomfortable to say the least. But
so they're in the sex workers' rights movement, but also
they're for a more so looking through the lens of I see this as an opportunity to be hyper capitalistic because I want to have my little empire where I take the labor of other sex workers, package it, and then it becomes mine.
Right.
So they're not really for workers' rights, more so the right to be able to profit off the labor of sex workers. It's complicated.
Oh, I understand completely. It's nuanced, selective, ignorant nonsense. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to boil it down, Brandy Love can fuck right off, but I still have to deal with people like her, which makes me sad. Which is like, there's so much making me sad. Because, the plague is a thing.
Just a little plague, it's fine.
You know what's really weird? People censor talking about it on like YouTube, the way they talk about like sexual terms.
Yeah, I've noticed in watching professional wrestling, as I'm a big fan, they don't say the word coronavirus, COVID-19.
Yeah.
Like WWE, like they don't say it ever.
Or like the situation.
Yeah, unprecedented times. Yeah.
Unprecedented times.
And it's just like
in times like these.
And it's always weird when people do not say the word COVID or coronavirus, because it's everyone's problem.
Yeah.
So it's
really
a global issue. Yes. Every single person everywhere asks each other across multiple languages, how are you dealing with the pandemic? To varying answers. But that is the question. Everyone's asking everyone else. But yet you are still trying to act like it's not a thing, which just, it's so obtuse. It makes wrestling unwatchable. At least WWE is unwatchable because they try to act like they have empty arena shows, which is also strange. And
I feel like that would be haunting.
There's a solution to having a smaller arena show that but would then require you to acknowledge what's happening. So if you're hell-bent on not acknowledging it, then you suddenly have an empty arena show with 2 wrestlers in it by themselves, acting like there's a crowd. It's very strange. AEW nailed it for a while.
Imagine that.
Right. AEW had some wrestlers at the, like, people who were actually inherently in the program, people who chose to show up. They were the crowd. So the wrestlers and the staff and the crew with their masks on, 6 feet away from each other, were the crowd. So they were actually it was a very small indie event almost on TV, and it had like a bunker thing going on. Right. But for the most part, not acknowledging everything is better. And I'll say this right now. Everything you want to put out, just whoever's listening, everything you want to put out creatively is better for acknowledging the fact that we're in a global pandemic. There's no need for you to ever hide the fact that we're in a global pandemic, because it is literally the world problem. The entire world has the same problem, which is rare.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
I am kind of glad that they're not trying to do porn scenes about it.
I thought we were.
I mean, I see it in the the titles of things, but I have not seen like studios going, we're gonna make a Corona porno DVD. Like, that's not what I'm seeing, but I'm seeing like things being repackaged, things that already had like masks and like medical fetish. It's being repackaged and then tagged with that, but I'm not really seeing like direct, here it's like we're gonna make light of it or anything like that. So that I don't mind.
Right.
I mean, anything where they're not always ripping leggings. It's always step siblings ripping leggings. It's just upsetting. Because you know how expensive leggings are?
Yes. That's why you don't rip leggings. And
it really takes me out.
I mean, I think if you knew how much leggings cost in relation to pantyhose, which was the original thing that got torn, which is fine. You can get pantyhose for like $1. Fine. But leggings are not pantyhose, guys. Those are actual clothing that costs actual money.
Yes. I have one pair of leggings that's like $68.
Yes.
If somebody ripped those, I'm just going to fight him or her. Like, we're going to fight. And then they're going to buy me or sew me up my leggings.
Right. All right, you're free to go.
But I think everybody's going to look at porn differently now. Like, when they waste food, I kind of feel like I wouldn't be able to fap to that.
Agreed. I also can't do the my favorite. I mean, I've seen these where someone's like, they want to take a COVID-19 test, but they can't because the doctor's withholding it for sex. I'm like, no. The only thing I enjoy, what?
I need to dissect that situation. So the doctor presumably has a patient that needs a COVID-19 test.
Yes.
So they're just gonna get that person all up in their business.
Yes.
And their face.
Yes. Well, they have mask on.
Eyes,
well, it's a mask down, ass up. You see, it's completely safe that way. You see, and this is why I don't like coronavirus porn, because what we understand about coronavirus is not acknowledged by the porn at all. Typically,
I'm so happy I moved away from the coast because this conversation makes me want to just walk into the ocean silently.
Right.
And just tap out of humanity.
Right. There are some amateur content creators who are just quarantining at home and fucking a bunch and recording that. I was like, we're on quarantine. There we go. We're fucking while our PS4 idles.
I kind of wonder, who has it worse? People who are quarantined with a partner where you're stuck together, but at least you could fuck, or people that are alone.
Contextual. I wouldn't mind. I don't mind being quarantined with my partner. I know a lot of people who do, and I know a lot of people who really like being alone. And I know some people who would have preferred not to, who would prefer to be quarantined with a partner. It is super contextual. Some people are making the most of it, and some people are having the worst time of it.
Though I am starting to get quarantine booty calls, which saddened me.
Why?
This one was really sad. It was a number I didn't recognize on WhatsApp. It was hey, what's up? It's whatever his name was. I shouldn't say it on the air. And I was I don't recognize this name or this number. I don't know who you are. And he was what do you mean you don't remember? I don't remember. And I'd be dude, I was in a coma. I don't remember some shit. So he sent me a picture. I still don't know you. I'm sorry. I'm sure we had fun. And then he was oh, but I know you were here. This is where you lived. And he was describing we clearly did hook up.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it's just no longer there. And I was okay, but why are you contacting me? He was well, because if you're still in the area, are you trying to get your dick wet during the plague? Is that what we're doing now?
Right. Which I do not put that off the table if everyone's willing to be super safe. If you want to go get tested and stuff.
Super safe. Especially I'm immunocompromised. If I get this, I die.
Well, that's the thing. If you can confirm, if you can get a test and you can confirm that you ain't got nothing and you haven't been around anybody, if you're home for the whole time and you can get a test that confirms that you've not done anything and you can get a test, sure, have at it.
Yeah, I had to get my internet fixed, and that dude, I had a box outside. I had a mask and gloves. As he put that on, and the door was open. And then we swabbed everything down. There's so much disinfecting, and right. There's no way I could have any kind of intimate encounter because on a normal day when there isn't mass death, I wouldn't cross a quiet street for dick. Hell no. Am I going to risk literal death by horrific disease for a dick I forgot?
Oh God, no. I'm saying people can. I'm not saying you would, because your disdain for humanity has now peaked. You are now at maximum disdain for humanity, as humanity can kill you. An average person now can just kill you on principle. So I can see you never doing that.
No. Everything kind of feels like, I feel like I'm in a Fast and Furious movie, I assume, because I haven't really seen them, but everything is like a death-defying adventure. Going to Costco, I'm risking death. Which, as I said before, it'd be super ironic if I was running through all that like strange on Craigslist for like years, and what takes me out is I just needed to get some like organic free range
Parmesan cheese. I died because I got Parmesan cheese.
I needed vegan cheese for my Beyond Meat lasagna. And I just had to go to Whole Foods. And I am no more.
I will say I've developed a terrible habit of learning how to read the tea leaves. So say there are some places in California, in the Bay, when I approach a store I need to go into, I always look to see who is in the store, size of the store. But if I see a bunch of folks, well, it's usually white folks, they're super lax for some reason. The hippies are very lax with this whole coronavirus thing. If I see them filing in and out of a store, typically I will avoid the store. I find black and brown people to be a little more studious about it. My local grocery store in Oakland has every black and brown person looks like a division agent. Gloves, hat, jacket on an 80-degree day. Gloves, pants.
Yeah. Though, like, it's kind of creepy because it wasn't this what happened in the division?
Yes.
The first division, there was a really bad disease. They tried to, like,
smallpox,
section off New York.
Yes, they did. They had to section off Manhattan from Brooklyn and everything, yes.
Yeah, which is why you're shooting people that are just desperate for supplies. I never finished the division.
The Division 1 was one of the most problematic games that ever were, because more than one of the factions were just regular people. There was a faction called and when you look at the origin stories of those factions, like there's a faction called the Looters that were originally all dressed like Trayvon Martin. They were all brown people, and their origin was the fact that the city stopped feeding. Some dude pulled a gun and shot a guy who was trying to withhold food. One of the relief workers was trying to the guy was like, my daughter's sick, I need help, can I get a little extra? And the person was like, no. And then he pulled a gun on that person, and then everything got physical. And that was where the Looters were born. The faction, air quotes, Looters were born because a man was trying to feed his sick daughter and was denied food, pulled a gun, and started shooting people. And then every other person who needed extra food also started shooting people, and they became a whole faction. Division 1 was a mess. Division 1...
I feel like I knew that intellectually, but my heart erased it.
Yeah, listen, there's a whole faction. There's a faction called the Rikers that, because they're convicts, they make them extra murdery. Like, they walk around and they go, man, I love the time when I stabbed that guy for not doing shit. That was satisfying as fuck. And they do that stuff because objectively all the prisoners want to do is find a place where they're not going to be killed for being prisoners. Like, in the game, they objectively just hold up on spaces where you'll have to deal with them. The water plant, power plant. So you have to deal with them to get the city back online. And all they're trying to do is not be shot to death like prisoners in the end of the world. So when you get to see them, outside of the fact that they love to stab people not doing stuff, look at that woman's ass, I'm sure gonna rub it without consent. You know, like that type of just over the top eviling of your character, because their actual origin story was too well written, and it makes sense that they would just want to occupy spaces that force you to deal with them as humans without shooting them on sight.
I didn't have the heart.
The Division 1 is so problematically racist, I deleted it when I got the Division 2. The Division 2 is problematic, but it has factions based on general white anarchist tropes and not
so the people we actually are dealing with right now.
The people we are dealing with right now in America are the enemies in the Division 2, which is a much better representation of America than just having like 1980s black and brown stereotypes of what would happen in like the end of the world in 1984 through the eyes of only the most middle class white people possible. So yeah, Funny thing though about that game, last thing, the smallpox was spread because they put it on money on Black Friday, so everyone passed around the money and made themselves sick. The origins being Manhattan. If they had known that all you had to do was just give it to one white person and then tell them to stay inside, that whole part of the game was overwritten. You just put it on one white guy and tell him he has to stay inside, and then he will go and proceed to infect every single person.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do all this complex shenanigans, and then just take Chad. Saying, listen, man, you got to stay inside and wear a mask. Got to wash your hands.
Or Chad's manager at GameStop, who's like, no, we're totally essential. You need to buy crap from ThinkGeek.com. So you have to sell it to people. And so now he has to go to work, and now he's sneezing on everything and touching all the games.
Yes.
Where, yeah. So yeah, it was kind of overwritten. Sadly, reality didn't need that much of a push.
Yeah, it's a problematic game. Now it's officially a documentary. Like I said, I won't bog down the program with any more. Division is very interesting in several levels that we just, like I said, we're going to have to probably have you on ad space.
Well, I feel like I haven't played enough of it because like I started playing and I'm like, I don't feel good about this. Like it is one of the few games where it's like my whole body rejected the experience.
It was a problem.
I'm like, game. Oh, I'm not the good guy here, and the game doesn't know I'm not the good guy. I don't like this.
It was one of the things that I told the Division is one of the most peculiar gaming experiences that ever were, because it tried to Diablo trash mobify humans, and whoever you choose to turn into a trash mob is very important. Who you turn when you turn humans into trash mobs for loot. When you do that, you have to think very closely about who you're doing, and if you don't, then you wind up putting forth some very problematic messaging, which it did. It got jammed up pretty tough for being powerfully racist. And I remember that my favorite thing is there was a I remember it because originally all the looters were all brown kids. They were all brown people. And one patch they added white looters, and they never said a thing. But they added white looters into the pool of enemies that are looters, air quotes, were white people. But when the game first came out for the first 4 or 5 months, none of the looters were black.
I could see that. Though I have to say, bragging. Yes. People poo-pooed me for playing Crackdown. But Crackdown was literally a game where you're like killing very stereotypical gangsters, like Eastern Europeans, Latinos, and it's racist. But like, you're not the good guy, but the game knows you're not.
Right. It actually, the ending, and we're spoiling the original Crackdown from 15 years ago. We're spoiling it. At the end of the game, it's revealed that you're actually the bad guy, the tool of fascism that will bend. That is now why the city is now bending at the knee under the will of your police organization.
Yeah, like it's a police state that's fascist and horrible, and the game is like, haha, you idiot, why, like, how did you think you're the good guy?
Right.
The Division, just like rah America.
Right. The Division, the way I played it, because I did like the Division, I kept playing it. Was easily the most problematic game I enjoyed in my life, probably. No, Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5, Division 1A, 1B. I acknowledge the fact that the only way you can play it is if you understand you're a tool of fascism. You are, in fact, a stormtrooper. You're the best stormtrooper, but you're a stormtrooper. And if you're fine with playing as the heel, then it's a fine game. But you are, in fact, playing as the heel. You're not a good guy. In the Division 2, they make great strides to have you work with people and against white anarchists, white general anarchist tropes, stereotypes. But, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of games we're going to see through a very different lens.
Oh, yeah, no. The Division is very difficult to play now. I'm not the only one to say it. Like it's a hell of a game to play now, as we are about 1 or 2 more waves of coronavirus from blocking off the states anyway.
Yeah. It also makes me feel like, remember that terrible show in the 90s with Jessica Alba, Dark Angel?
Yeah.
That was about like the fall of the American Empire.
Yeah.
Which was, there was a sickness, and then because of that sickness, there was a war, that they did like an EMP.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, like that could actually happen.
We don't
Because
have.
we have idiots in charge, and
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens before Election Day. We don't have. It's a slow cook because our president is so peculiar that it's very clear. Like, our president isn't trying to have any shadow campaign. The president is clearly stalling until Election Day. That is what he's doing. So it's not like there's like a shadow campaign where there can be like a groundswell, like a big tussle or anything. That's why America's just kind of like rolling around on the ground, really drunk. Like, America's kind of in the "I'm fine, don't touch me" phase of being drunk. And it is probably going to try and hold that position until God knows when. But we don't have enough. Our citizens aren't confrontational enough. Our administration isn't conniving enough. And I don't think anybody remembers the keys to the EMP, where the keys to the EMP are anyway. Because we're just so good. We're just so America right now. So our incompetence is giving me a sense of safety that we're just going to slowly fall into the abyss. We're not going to launch ourselves triumphantly into it. We're just kind of going to roll over the side. And then somebody's going to turn around and be, "What happened to America?" And then I got to find out we fell down a 2,000-foot drop in the news. It's going to be real tragic what happened to us. But it was, he was just behind us. He was just a little drunk. And then, he was gone. I think he was trying to take a selfie and he tripped and fell over the side. It's a shame, man. It's a shame what happened to America.
oh, everything is so bleak. Oh, but before we go on this bleak dystopian note, I did find a kink of the week, because we haven't done those in a bit.
Kink of the week at the end of the show? All right, what's the kink of the week?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, I was practicing how to say it, and I'm probably going to fuck it up.
All right.
Oculolinctus. And that is being sexually aroused by the licking, sucking, or otherwise mouth to eye stimulation.
Yeah, I have
Because I feel like those guys, or those people that are into that, I feel like they're never gonna see that again, or in their lifetime. I don't feel like this content is gonna be created easily.
I mean, like I said, we can have extensive testing. Do the thing.
I mean, it's already very dicey. In 2013, when this was kind of at its peak in popularity for Japanese content, there was a outbreak of chlamydia of the eye.
Oh no!
As well as conjunctivitis and pink eye.
Oh no! Well, you gotta keep clean. It's just, you can't just be.
Which is like, we talk about like ass to mouth and how that can make you very ill, but I think like that makes sense. But I don't think a lot of people think of mouth to eye as.
Oh yeah, it's a fucking eyeball. Like, it's one of those places, one of those transmission vectors they tell you. That's why they tell you not to rub your eyes. I'm telling you that right now. Don't rub your eyes. Don't rub them with your hands. God forbid someone else puts their goddamn tongue in there. And like I said, you gotta really give yourself a heavy once over in the mouth region. You're gonna be licking someone's eye.
Though, like it might sound so far fetched, but I think I gotta get it, because it is a place that you see a lot. Eyes are, very alluring. There's something that like we're drawn to unattractive people,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that you usually don't touch. I feel like there's kind of like a breaking of like some type of unspoken oath between humanity that we weren't gonna lick our eyeballs.
I
So
can
it's
see
like
where.
that last taboo,
I mean, I can
but
see
also the
where.
intimacy of it.
Yeah, I can see where. I can see it. If you can connect that feeling, like if you're listening to this right now and you think of someone licking someone else's eyeball, and your whole body clenches up because you're one of those people that you put your contacts in. Like when you see someone take a contact out, you have to go to the hospital. You know what I mean? I think that feeling, like maybe 10 inches to the right, is where people get off on that exact same feeling of just raw vulnerability. We don't like things in our eyes because our eyes are so vulnerable and they're open all the fucking time. The rest of us, things that are vulnerable, they're behind pants, they're in our underwear, they're in our body, our heart's got a whole bone in front of it, you know what I mean? Like there's like things, the eyes are very, very vulnerable for just kind of sitting out there looking at everything.
And it's kind of like another sphincter, but for light. They contract and stuff
Right.
when there's a low light.
I can see it. I can see how the feeling I'm having right now, where I am mortified because I'm a person that's extremely sensitive to all types of eye harm. That if you ever want to get me to flinch in anything, you have some harm come to someone's eyeball. And
Yeah, that's usually the one part of horror movies where I have to look
I'm
away.
just like, no.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a pretty famous scene of this like Italian horror movie where it's the first time they just showed like somebody getting their eyeball like just slit, and it's like old timey special effects, but I can't watch it to this day. I have to cover my eyes.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that feeling is connected to the sexuality. I can see it.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like we're going to not go back to like the Victorian era of like covering up, but it's going to be kind of like, oh, you've seen an ankle, but it's going to be like, oh, he's holding my hand in public. Like I feel like the new taboos are going to be coming soon, and they're going to be shocking. I think the next generation of people are gonna really be very touch sensitive, because I don't think we're gonna have a culture of touching so much. And I think it'll be like very like US centric, because I think other countries have handled this way better. So they're, opening up. There's less restrictions. But I think because it's going to get so bad if things don't get better here, like we might just have like mad touching porn.
I can see it.
Or like spit play might be good, because I mean, I think the only time I've ever publicly clutched my pearls was I was at Exotica, and there was a dom and her sub, and I wasn't expecting it, but they were like doing a scene for the crowd, and she like he was like licking her toes, and for me, I'm like, ugh, feet, I'm just not with it. But then she's like, okay, you're not doing this good enough. And he's like, I'm sorry. Then he opened his mouth and she just went and just hocked a loogie right in there. And it was just such a shocking moment for me. Not because I haven't seen people, like I've seen people be spit on during sex. Like guy give a girl back shots, he like spits on her or whatever, which not my cup of tea.
That's a whole other discussion, but go on.
Yeah, just the spit in the mouth, which I'm always just like, which is weird because I know I make light of it very often. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably heard I would let blank whoever twirls my fancy, spit in my mouth, because I think that's the worst thing. Or spit in my butt. I don't know why. I really don't want somebody to spit on my butt.
Mm?
Mostly because I'm just anti-spit as lube.
It's not lube.
It's not.
It's not lube. It's
is lube.
digestive enzyme. Lube is lube. Spit is a digestive enzyme.
Yeah.
Now, if I was trying to fuck you and eat you, sure. I mean, that'd take a while. Long.
I wonder if somebody has like a vor fetish, if they ever put like pineapples in somebody's butt, because pineapples have digestive enzymes. They're kind of eating us when we eat them.
Well, that is why we need to wrap up the show.
I think on that note, I've been in quarantine too long.
Hey, listen, I enjoy it. We need to do that. We need to have a whole show where we go over all the nonsense that has passed our mind while we are in quarantine too long. I want it. Next week
Pineapple in the booty ass bitch.
Yes. I don't think this is invalid. I just think this is now another half an hour of conversation when we do not have a half an hour. So we will do this next week, folks.
We're going to put a pin on that.
We're going to put a pin in this. And next week, we're going to go into absolute quarantine, unhinged madness as a group. All of us are going to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for listening. We're gonna quote unquote get through this together, except for the thousands of people who did not. And I'll see you next Tuesday.
Enjoy what you heard? Become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/unfridays and follow the network at twitter.com/unfridays. You know what makes racists really mad? Black people having a good time. And we really have a good time making these podcasts. So, if you donate, then it's technically the same thing as funding the unhappiness of racists everywhere. Awesome, right? You know what to do.